So you're new to concealed carry. Have you put any thought into what you're going to do the very first time you get pulled over? That's what we're here for today.
We've had record-breaking gun sales this year. There are literally millions of first-time gun owners right now. A lot of those people were either anti-gun or they never thought in a million years that life would come to a point where they needed to own a firearm. We've got nationwide protests by day that turn into violent riots at night. The country just is filled with hate right now. Hate for police, hate for conservatives, hate for anybody who's not willing to join the mob. It's really no wonder that there's so many people out there buying their first gun right now. The fact is, these are dangerous times, and everybody really does need the ability to protect themselves and their loved ones. You know, for a lot of people, I think something that they overlook when they start concealed carrying is what are they going to do the first time they get pulled over? Like I said, these are dangerous times, and nobody knows that better than law enforcement. They want to stay safe and make it home to their loved ones just as much as you do. With the current state of affairs, we as lawful gun owners, we need to do the best that we possibly can to minimize the risks associated with carrying a firearm. So let's start with the setup.
Everything that I do as a driver and somebody who carries a firearm is deliberate. There are no accidents. And the first thing on my list is the wallet. Now this is a Travax. If you don't have one, I suggest you pick one up. I'll leave a link below. This thing is great. It gives me quick access to everything that I need in the event that I'm pulled over. It's got this pull tab here. Pull that. I've got my license. I've got my proof of insurance. And in Washington, if you want to conceal carry, unfortunately, you do have to be licensed. And so I do have my concealed carry license in this stack as well. So in the event that I'm pulled over, one quick pull, and there's all my information right there. I keep my registration handy. I keep it in the little slot in the door just in case I need it. I don't have to make any quick or sudden movements reaching for the glove box or any other awkward spot that, you know, might seem like I'm actually reaching for some sort of weapon. Now, if I do happen to get pulled over, the very first thing I do, of course, is roll my window down. We all know that's coming. Next thing I do is grab that registration and I sit it right here on the dash in front of the wheel. Okay, so this part is kind of important. When I drive, I don't keep my wallet in my pocket. It's too much of a pain in the ass to get to. I'll leave it in the cup holder. I'll leave it up here. There's a little slot on my dash where it sits just fine. That way, again, I'm not reaching for anything if I get pulled over. If that happens, it's right there. I'm ready to go. So again, I get pulled over. I hit the window button. I grab my registration. That goes there. Next thing I do is I grab the wallet, pull the tab. I have license, I have proof of insurance, and I have my concealed carry permit right here in a stack. That goes right on top of the dash with all my other documentation.
All right, so a couple of points about Washington state law for those of you who live in my home state. In Washington, you are not required by law to inform the police officer if you are carrying a weapon. You are, however, required to provide your concealed carry permit when asked for it. Now, if a police officer does ask you if you're carrying a weapon, you are legally obliged to tell them that you are, if in fact you are. I think it's important to know your rights. I think it's important to stand up when your rights are being infringed on. A lot of people may not like my position on how to handle being pulled over, and that's fine. This is just one man's opinion on how to de-escalate a potentially bad situation. When an officer comes up to my window and asks for my license, my registration, my proof of insurance, here's what he sees.
Sir, I have all three of those on the dash along with my concealed carry permit. I don't want to alarm you, but I am in possession of my firearm today. It's at the appendix position. How would you like me to proceed?
So why on earth do I offer more information than is legally required of me by the state that I live in? Excellent question. You don't know that random police officer any more than he knows you. You don't know how many years he has on the job. You don't know the experience level he has. You don't know how frequently he's had people try to resist arrest. I mean, you just don't know. Hell, how many times has that officer stopped someone who ended up pulling a knife or a gun on them? The possibilities are endless. It's a big unknown. One thing you can be sure of is that officer has been trained to see more than what's at eye level. If you're new to concealed carry, if this is the first time that you've been pulled over while carrying a handgun, Chances are you may not notice it, but a police officer is probably going to notice the fact that you look a little bit on the nervous side. Let's face it, this isn't a scenario that you've been through before. Imagine maybe your wife and kids are in the car. You may be cool as a cucumber, but your wife may seem just a little out of sorts, a little nervous, because this is the first time that she's been in this scenario. Think for a second about the implications from the police officer's perspective. He doesn't know what's going on. From his perspective, he pulled over a vehicle, he came up to the window, and he sees people seeming a little sketchy, a little bit nervous, and something is going on. That much he knows. He just isn't quite sure what. Now, you may be completely legal in carrying a firearm, but realistically, you set the tone for the interaction when you get pulled over. Let's say for whatever reason you get asked to step out of the vehicle. Maybe you're sweating bullets. Maybe your wife looks nervous, and the cop assumes that she's in distress. Maybe there's an error in the computer that shows that your name has some sort of bullshit warrant out of some county that you've never even heard of before. The stuff happens. Now you've created a situation because you weren't upfront with the police officer. He's asked you to step out of the vehicle, so what are you going to do now? Oh, by the way, officer, I have a concealed carry permit and I've got a gun on me. Your actions set the tone. You made the choice to exercise your Second Amendment rights, which is a great thing. But remember, that right carries with it a massive responsibility.
Avoiding a potentially bad situation is actually really easy. I'm driving along, I see the red and blues, oh shit, I'm getting pulled over, I hit my window button. As I'm pulling over, my registration goes right up there. I grab my wallet, quick tab. I go ahead and take my license, my proof of insurance, and my concealed weapon permit, put it right there on the dash. Everything is ready for when the officer comes to the window. Next thing is key. After those items go on the dash, my hands go on the wheel, and that's where I stay until the officer comes to the window. At which point he says something like, "Sir, do you know why I pulled you over?" And I say, "I'm not really sure." And he says something like, "Well, you were going 45 and a 35 today. I'm going to need to see your license, your registration, and your proof of insurance." At which point, it's really easy for me to go ahead and give a little finger point to my documentation and say, "Sir, I've got all documents here on the dash, including my concealed weapons permit. I am carrying my firearm today, and it's in the appendix position. What would you feel most comfortable with me doing at this point?"
What I'm doing here is I'm letting this guy know that I'm legal, I'm not a threat, I'm going to comply, and I'm going to follow directions. He can see my paperwork, he can see both my hands in clear view, and I've not only told him that I am carrying a firearm, but I've also told him where it is. I've given him way more information than what's required by law, so by doing that, I've set the tone for this interaction. The next move is on the officer. They may ask you to step out of the vehicle so that they can go ahead and disarm you, clear the weapon, and make sure that everything is legitimate. If that's what makes the officer feel more at ease, that's fine with me. The fact of the matter is, law enforcement has no idea what they're going to encounter when they do a routine traffic stop. Being rude, being combative, citing municipal codes about probable cause for, traffic stops, all that does is make things tense. Remember, you decided to leave the house today with your firearm. That means that at any moment, situations have the possibility of escalating based strictly on what you do, your behavior, how you handle the situation. Basically, what I'm saying is that carrying a firearm is the biggest responsibility that there is. And there are a lot of people that want to take that right away from us. You literally hold people's lives in the palm of your hands when you leave the house with a firearm. That means you need training. You need to have self-restraint. You need to have a plan in every little thing that you do. Because at the end of the day, there is a big difference between a gun owner and a responsible gun owner.